Ooh, Nelly. Oh my goodness, that thing rips. Oh, what do you guys think of that, man? Hey guys, Raider here. Hope you're all doing great and having a fantastic day. I'll tell you what, I've been doing great since Friday night when this little bad boy showed up. So this is the Happymodel Mobula6. This came out about a year ago. I know, I'm late to the game. But you know, it's now whoop season. I was asking around to a few of my friends, looking at reviews, and like all the reviews are still talking about this little bad boy. Then I reached out to Brad at RC&SC, sorry Brad, and Chris over at Explicit FPV, and they're like, dude, Mobula6, you won't regret it, thank me later. And you know what, speaking of Chris over at Explicit FPV, big shout out to you and thank you, bro, for this right here. Check it out, guys. Chris sent me a Caddx Baby Turtle, little HD camera for winning the Scare Me Challenge for that Halloween video I did. So thank you, Chris. And thanks, Brad, for the recommendation, because I'll tell you what, guys, I've been enjoying this thing. So let's talk about it. So when you order this, not much has changed since they came out with this a year ago. Like, it's shipped with Betaflight 357 on it, which I'm totally cool with. I love that version of Betaflight. It's actually pretty awesome. So what you get in the box is, well, not much. You get this little quad, little whoop wrapped up in some bubble wrap. You get a little goodie bag with some extra props. Looks like we got a little 1-pack USB charger for just doing one cell at a time. A little Phillips screwdriver and a prop removal tool. Just all the basics that you need to get started. About 80 bucks gets you this. And you also get 4 of these Happymodel 30C. These are high volts, so they're 4.8 nominal charge, or no, 3.8 volt nominal charge. They're going to be a 4.35 volt peak charge for the actual charge that you charge them up to. You get 4 of these in there. And what I did, so I had a whoop before. I've had a Tiny 7 from King Kong when I first got into this hobby. And it came with one of those little charging boards, and I got like 5 little lipos with it. But you know, it flew pretty terrible. And since then, I've like given away a long time ago. It came with a little Fly Sky radio. But so I had to start from scratch for the whoop stuff. So what I did is I just picked up a 6-pack of, let's see if we can find some in here as an example. Yeah, I got these little G&B 300s. They're 30C as well. They're high volt. And then I picked up this little URAV charger. I don't know, it's been working out really really great. You can charge up to 5 packs at once. And you just run it off a little 4S LiPo or whatever you got. It'll do like just a crap ton of charges. You can pick your amperage, and you can pick whether you want to do LiPo or high volt, just like you would expect, you know, just like anything else. But so enough about the accessories. Let's talk about the quad. So when you get it, I told you what you get. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need a rubber band. Okay, so grab yourself a little rubber band. About this size will do. That's what I have on here now. And then underneath where the battery goes in, so you see here closely, you have, and let me get it on the side here, you have these 2 little bars here, all right? And your battery goes through here. Well, if you don't have that rubber band in there, your battery just slides, literally just slides through this thing. Like, I don't even recommend flying it 1-pack with it. So just take a little rubber band, and on each side there's these little strut things here that just have a little indentation. You can take a rubber band and go on the underneath side of it and run it across, and then when you put your little lipos in, the rubber band will stick underneath it, and it causes a lot of friction, so it's not going anywhere, and you don't have to mess with it every time. That rubber band's not going anywhere. You'll eventually have to replace it, you know, it'll break, blah, 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 blah. So that solves that problem. That's all you really need to get this little guy up and running. So they make 2 versions of it. They make a 19K and a 25K version, and I went ahead, I went against the grain of pretty much every other pilot, and I went ahead and got the 25K version. And there's a couple reasons that. So first off, I don't care so much about flight time. So that's the big reason to get the 19K version, is the lower KV, the less amp draw per kilovolt hour against the LiPo, you're gonna get longer flight time. Even if I did like a throttle curve and everything, since the fact that this is a higher KV model, automatically it's gonna have more amp draw. You're automatically gonna get shorter flight times. So getting the 19K version, you're gonna get probably a good 30, 45 seconds longer flight time. Who knows, even a little bit more. But they do make you can just do a 48 kilohertz update to the ESCs on this. It takes like 2 minutes, a JESC update. and it's free as well, and that'll give you like another 30 to 45 seconds back on this 25K one. And the higher the KV motors, the bigger the impact that going to 48K does. I don't know if I'll do that or not, because you do get some flight degradation, and you also are hurting your... So 48 kilohertz, that's sending twice the pulses back and forth to the ESC into the motors. That's how they're communicating. So it's actually, even though the bandwidth is half as much on each of the pulses on 48K, you're still hitting it with twice as many pulses. So it's a little harder on your ESCs. I've seen guys try to do 96 and they end up frying the ESC on them. And it's just a little all-in-one board, so you do not want to do that. So I might experiment with that, but to be honest, it's been flying great stock. It's just came with 357. I didn't touch the PIDs. I just threw my rates on it. I disabled motor stop. I put on, and so what I want to do is put air mode on a switch on this, because when you're flying indoors and all that, you'll bump into things, and with air mode on, you'll go crazy. So I'll show you what I did real quick. Let's grab a radio. So I got it bound up to the Horus X10S here. There's a reason why I picked this radio. So I have a QX7 that I normally use for like little indoor stuff and all that, but I wanted to use a Horus because the internal battery lasts forever. Like I literally could go out to the field and get like 25 flight sessions in before even having to think about this. So I'm gonna just keep flying this whoop for days with this battery in here and not even think about recharging it. The other reason too is because it has M12 quad ball bearing titanium gimbals in it, which are about 3 leagues ahead of the Hall effect gimbals that you can get in like a Taranis X9D. These blow those gimbals out of the water. I know because I have the X9D sitting over on my shelf right there, and the gimbals are starting to go out on them. So that's why I didn't want to put it on that one. And so these gimbals are they're like butter. I can't even put it into words, guys. It's like they're on pillows of air. So you get a lot of stick resolution and all that, which also helps with 25K. So these are longer throw gimbals, so I have a lot more control, because you're going to get a lot of jump on these higher KV motors. So back to the motors too. The other reason I went with the 25 kV, I was going to, shoot, let me go back to the radio. So I was going to talk about, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I was going to talk about how I set up my modes. So this is my arming switch right here. So what I did is I set up, hold on, let me move this wire out of the way here. I set it so it's on a 3-position arm switch. So on the first selection of arm, air mode remains off. I switch between my modes here. All right, so you'll still have air mode off. And then I have flip over crash or turtle mode right over here. And I've got my beeper on the momentary. Now what I also do is if I go over one more on the arm, I have that tied to air mode. So that also engages air mode on any one of mine, whether I'm flying angle, horizon, or acro. And I do like horizon on these little loops because it's fun to do little loops and rolls inside the house around the kids and stuff, and not worry about the quad or the whoop getting all janky coming out of it because you're in acro mode. So horizon, it's fun to play with. It gets thrown under the bus, but there's purpose for playing around and having fun with it. So there you go. So like if you don't even want to think about it, you just flick it all the way down, air mode's on like we're normally used to flying. But if you want air mode off, which I do a lot indoors and stuff, I just have it in the middle position. All right, so sorry for losing my train of thought there. Let's ditch the radio now. Let's get back to these motors real quick. So the other reason I went with a 25 kV is because I plan on flying outside a lot, like you'll see in some of the flight footage that's playing here. And just having that little bit of extra poke, I was noticing guys flying the 19K ones, they were at about half throttle before getting up past the idle. And I just wanted a little bit more than that for outdoors. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm not regretting the actual selection, because I'm actually getting really good throttle resolution indoors as well. I was really impressed with the amount of control I was getting out of this right out of the gate. Like I had no problems flying this thing. It's a pleasure to fly, absolute breeze. So let's talk about some cons. So the cons with this are that it gets a very short flight time. I'm getting about a minute 15 seconds. I mean, I jam the throttle, guys. I push this little guy. The other con too is it doesn't have the strongest frames. I've already put a little hairline crack in the back little strut here, and just put a little CA glue and it fixed it. Chris over at Explicit FPV, he shot me over a couple of the Meteor 65 frames, so I'll have a frame to replace it. And I guess that's Brad also recommended that one as well, so that's a recommended one to go with. These guys have been doing this a lot longer than me, so I definitely take their recommendation seriously. And they definitely recommended a great little quad. So I mean, if you're just getting started in this hobby, like $80, $30 for the batteries and the charger. Charger's 15, the extra batteries are 15. Yeah, 110 bucks and you're in the door with it. You just need some goggles and a radio. I mean, you can't really beat that. So let's talk about some of the pros. The pros is this little SPI D8 receiver does pretty darn good. I was getting great range. You'll see in the flights here and stuff. I'm going out there quite a ways, flying around at the university. There's like a bunch of solar panels on top of the grids there and stuff. This I haven't had a failsafe yet. I've got a couple RSSI low warnings, but have yet to have a failsafe. The other thing, the camera's pretty darn good. I didn't mess with anything out of the gate. I've just left the default angle that it's at. I think it does a pretty good job. I had no problem seeing. I've been used to flying digital lately, but had no problem transitioning to this. The other pro that I really like about it is I feel like this flies a lot more like a 3 to 5 inch quad than what you'd expect a whoop to fly. So I was talking about that Tiny 7 when I first got into that. That's kind of what I correlate whoop flying to, kind of just a little bit of weeble bobbling, you know, when you're in the air like this, you know, just pretend that, you know, this is top bottom. You know, like it just wouldn't, the I term was off, and it's when I started messing with the PIDs and all that. This one here is locked, just locked. I mean, it just feels like you're flying a little 5 inch, plenty of power. You can do power loops, you can do inverted yaw spins, you can do juicy flicks, whatever you want. And it's a great thing to learn little tricks on, you know, because the worst you're going to do is just break this frame up a little bit. Just get a little epoxy, a little super glue. You could, you know, just glue it right back up. You're right back in the air the next day. Let it harden up overnight so you know it's good. What are these props going to be? A few cents each? You know, everything's cheaper on this. Even if you fry the board, I'm sure you can replace it for like, what, 20, 30 bucks? Who knows? It's probably dirt cheap, you know? So I've been having a blast with this. I've already put like 100 packs through it. The only other thing I would say on the setup, what's really important with these, and this is just kind of a general setup tip for any of these small ones or anything that you plan on flying any angle mode with, which it's really fun to fly in angle mode with this, especially around the house, is you gotta make sure your accelerometer is properly calibrated. So when I got it, it wasn't too bad. It kind of drifted a little bit to the back and the right. So, but what I did is I got it dialed in. I spent the first 2 or 3 packs just sitting there, just getting it all perfect. And here, I'll show you guys how to dial that in real quick. So on your radio, when you get one of these, after you got it all set up in beta flight and you're going to do your maiden, go ahead and make sure you're disarmed. All right, so you're at the beta flight main screen. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna push up to the left, pull down. And what that's gonna, and make sure you're on a level surface first. So make sure your quad's level. And that may be a little difficult to do with the battery being down here. So go ahead and get it up between like, here, let me see if I can get this in view a little bit. Between like a couple boxes when you go to take off, you know? Just something like that, to where the battery's underneath that right there. You know what I mean? And it's totally level, just hanging off the ducts. And then all you do is push up, down, you'll hear a beep, and you might see, if you have telemetry and all that set up on your, like I do on my, you'll get a telemetry lost, telemetry recovered, da-da-da. It'll get these beeps, and that just means it's doing its setting and reinitializing and coming back. And then what you do is you just go down and out, and you'll get the same thing. Telemetry lost, telemetry recovered, and you'll hear a beep beep, and all that means is it saved your settings. And go ahead and take off, you know, and then if you still feel like it's going a little out of kilter, let's say you take off and it's drifting a little bit to the right, okay, just real slowly. You want to have this nice and good, especially when you're flying indoors. It really helps with the enjoyment. So what you'll do is you go ahead and land, go ahead and make sure you're disarmed, all right? And what you're gonna do is pull all the way up on the throttle, and then you wanna push the stick in the direction that it's drifting. Not the opposite, but in the same direction. So it's drifting a little bit to the right, like we said, right? So you're gonna hold this stick here, and while you're pulling up on the throttle. And when each second that you hold this, you're gonna hear a beep, beep, beep. Each one of those beeps is like hitting the corresponding trim button, but inside the flight controller. And you wanna do it on the flight controller, because if you do it on your radio, the accelerometer settings in beta flight are gonna try to counteract what you did with your trim on the radio. So don't use your trim tabs, not with beta flight, not with what we're doing. That's for wings and stuff. You don't wanna use that, you wanna do this. So make sure you're up, just press and hold it a few times. Beep, beep, beep. Let it do a few clicks like that, let off, down and out to save. Take off again. If it goes up, if it's still drifting to the right, do a little bit more. If you notice it's going a little bit to the left now, it means you just did a little bit too much. So you just go ahead and disarm again, go up, and this time if it's just a little bit too much, just go like beep, beep to the left, and that'll just two clicks instead of pressing it and holding it. That's just a shortcut for, you know, doing multiple of these clicks. So just give it 1 or 2 clicks in that direction. Try it again, save it, make sure you save it, or when you unplug that LiPo, it's gonna be done. You'll lost that setting, and you'll wonder why, oh crap, why is it flying to the right again? So make sure you save it each time, arm it up, try it, spend a pack or 2, take the time to do that right, and you'll enjoy every flight after that when you're flying in angle mode. Highly recommend that. So I definitely give this bad boy the 2 thumbs up. This is an awesome little bird. I mean, I'll tell you guys what, I went out to Fresno State University today. I took out the iFlight Titan H3. I took out the Transtech Beetle, and I took this out there with me. And my whole intent was, you know, hey, I'll get some DJI footage, you know, some more HD stuff, post up another flight video. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I actually had more fun flying this little guy around than I did my HD quads, which are hundreds of dollars more each with a lot more investment, more expensive batteries. I actually flew more packs through this. I was actually having more fun with it. Maybe it's a new factor. Maybe it's because I'm still really, really impressed at how well this little guy flies. I mean, it really did blow me away. And the other thing that's really cool, and this can't be undersold, guys, is like, I don't know what your situation is. We're all in different situations, but like, I have a family around the house, right? So I've got my fiance, I've got 4 and 3-year-old boys. Now just imagine that, all right? I've got two small boys running around the house like crazy animals, right? And to be able to have something around that I can fly around them, you know, here's the thing. The only thing you have to worry about with these is getting hair tangled in the motors. You're not gonna hurt anybody with this. I'm serious. You can crash into somebody 1,000 times. As long as they have short hair, and you're not getting their hair caught in these little motors, you're not gonna hurt somebody. And that's what I'm getting at. You can have dogs around the house. You can have people and all this. You crash into somebody, you're not gonna hurt anybody. It's harmless. You know, you can have a soda bottle or whatever, it's gonna bounce right off it. I mean, so this weighs a little less than 20 grams. All up weight is 1 ounce, guys. 1 ounce. It weighs like 28 grams with a LiPo attached to it. So, I mean, I can just fly this thing doing full throttle, fly it right into my chest, and I'd probably wonder, oh, what was that? I thought I felt something. I mean, you know, it's really hard to put a price on that, especially if like you're a new pilot or just learning, or you want to learn some new tricks. You don't have to worry about the crashing or hurting anybody. You can fly in the comfort of your own home. You can take this, and the VTX works surprisingly well. Like I could go around my house from inside my house. It's only 25 milliwatts, but it's a strong 25 milliwatts. So guys, I'm really impressed. Thanks to Brad and Chris for the recommendation. I really took your guys' recommendations to heart, and it paid off. I'm really having a blast with this bad boy. Again, guys, it's running Betaflight 3.5.7, so we are going old school with this bad boy. Looks like Happymodel, you know, they knew they have a good thing, so don't even touch it. This isn't my only Happymodel quad. So when I first got into this hobby, Happymodel came out with the Mantis 85, which you see here, that has some old finagled rubber bands for battery straps. I got some hot glue here, holding the VTX antenna up there. We've got the receiver. I remounted this in the back. It flies like garbage, but it's just over 2 years old, and it still flies. This thing is still airworthy. It will still go in the air and fly. I could take it outside tomorrow and it will rip. It's really got that cattywampus stuff I was telling you about, like the eye gains and eye turn were way off. I don't know. I'm not too much into tuning yet. I'm starting to learn that process, but it is a process. But you know, Happymodel isn't necessarily known for the greatest track record, but so far I've had great luck. No issues with this one at all. Highly recommend it. It hauls butt. You guys are seeing the flight footage there. It does a pretty good job, and I recommend it. All right, guys. Hey, I hope you're all doing great. Happy holidays to you. Thank you so much for watching.